Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful, Mr. President, distinguished members of the Council, at the outset, I'd like to congratulate your country on its assumption of the presidency of the Council this month, and we commend your skillful and able leadership of the Council. Allow me to begin by praying for the souls of the innocents that were brutally killed in Fasher by the rapid support militias and over the past 2 days. I pray for the injured to be healed and for those forcibly detained by the rapid support militias that you described as barbaric and not being related to any standards of modern civilization. I pray that they return home, those detained. I thank ASG, Madam Martha Poby, ASG for Africa and the Department of Political and Peacekeeping Affairs, and I thank Mr. Tom Fletcher, Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs. I also thank all the members of the Security Council who have condemned this barbarism that is unprecedented. I also thank specifically the representative of Algeria for the statement he delivered on behalf of the A3+ group. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Security Council, I speak to you today to recall that I have, and since 2023, been saying to your esteemed Council that the rebel rapid support militia seeks to turn Darfur and Al-Fasher into a new Tora Bora. Several days ago, the city of Al-Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, has become a new symbol of the human tragedy created by the organized criminality of the terrorist rapid support militia and those who sponsor it, support it, finances it, and furnishes it with weapons, money, foreign mercenaries, and political, diplomatic, and media support. We have explained all of this to you at great length, and we have provided documentation to that end. What is happening in the city of Al-Fasher is not an isolated incident. Rather, it is a continuation of a systematic pattern of killing and ethnic cleansing that this militia has carried out since its rebellion in April 2023. The scenes of genocide witnessed by the world in West Darfur against the Masalit tribe are repeated today in the city of Al-Fasher, where thousands of unarmed civilians are being slaughtered, neighborhoods and markets are set ablaze, medical facilities and hospitals are looted, and those inside them are killed. According to a statement by the World Health Organization, approximately 450 patients and companions were killed in the Saudi hospital in Al-Fasher, which was the last health facility still operating in the city after these criminal militias deliberately destroyed all the health facilities there during the continuous siege and bombardment of the city. The militia has killed civilians and humanitarian workers, as it did in the city of Bara. Women and girls are attacked in broad daylight. What this militia is doing is no longer just a violation of human rights, but a crime, a new crime against humanity, and a genocide by all legal standards and definitions. And in order to understand the magnitude of the disaster, the number of victims in the city of Al-Fasher alone, since the militia entered it a few days ago, that number exceeds the victims of the terrorist attacks of the 11th of February 2003. This is a figure that is enough to shock anyone with a conscience. There are no more civilians in Al-Fasher city. They have either been annihilated by rocket attacks, drones, and chemical weapons used by the rebel militia, or killed while trying to flee the city seeking safety. Mr. President, the government of the Sudan has been alerting this Council and the international community on a regular basis and since 2023 to the diabolical and criminal nature of this terrorist organization, which is nothing more than a tribal militia led by a single family, much like the mafia. It is the natural extension of the notorious Janjaweed militia that has committed acts that even some members of this Council, and you today agreed on that classified as as an atrocity and genocide. This militia has no legitimacy, be it political, national, or constitutional. It is based on the ideology of ethnic superiority and racism against the African tribes in Darfur and throughout Sudan. Its modus operandi is one of looting and systemic violation of international humanitarian law and human rights laws. This criminal militia derives its strength from the gold it looted from Darfur and smuggled to the markets of its regional sponsor and the external support of that same regional sponsor. However, some international actors have chosen to equate the sovereign Sudanese state with a rebel militia that perpetrates systematic killings. This is a grave moral, political, and legal mistake. What is worse is that this militia documents its crimes in audio and video and broadcasts them to the entire world in blatant defiance of the international community and the Security Council, taking advantage of the state of impunity and the absence of any serious response to deter it or hold it accountable for its crimes, in particular its successive violations of Security Council Resolutions 1591 and 2736, which the Council has failed to implement, thus giving it a green light to continue perpetrating the atrocities that you witnessed yourselves in Al-Fasher. Mr. President, the government of the Sudan has provided this Council and the international community with documented evidence confirming that the militia is using foreign mercenaries from neighboring countries and from countries as far away as Latin America. Their recruitment, financing, and smuggling across the borders to kill Sudanese citizens are carried out under the auspices and supervision of a well-known regional sponsor. However, the Council has not yet taken any practical measures to hold this particular sponsor and others accountable, or to hold accountable the financiers and supporters of these crimes and this terrorism. Nor has the Council established a mission of inquiry to investigate them. The Rapid Support Militia continues its flagrant defiance of Security Council Resolution 2736 by using the weapon of starvation to prevent humanitarian aid from reaching Al-Fasher. It imposed a suffocating siege on the residents of Al-Fasher since May 2023, depriving the residents of food and medicine before carrying out the horrific mass massacre that took place before your own eyes. And this was declared by the militia's leaders in their videos. The militia has besieged the city for more than a year and a half, cutting off supply routes, and then it set upon its inhabitants to carry out a massacre that recalls the most horrific forms of genocide that the world has ever witnessed. And in the face of these realities, the Sudanese people, together with the advocates of a free human conscience, are asking and wondering, where is the Security Council and where are its moral and legal obligations under the Charter of the United Nations? Is it not its duty to stand in the face of those who perpetrate genocide and crimes against humanity as it did in other situations and other locations in the world? And out of our moral and legal responsibility towards our citizen, and despite our limited resources and the scale of the systematic and widespread destruction, the government of Sudan has continued its policy of facilitating humanitarian access to all citizens affected by the war imposed on Sudan. It has taken and is taking operational measures to facilitate the acceleration and delivery of humanitarian aid to those in need by increasing the number of border crossings to 13 crossings. We have also extended the opening of the Adri border crossing until the end of this year, and we have increased the number of airports to 7 airports. In addition, we have given international organizations access to all internal roads between the states for the sake of humanitarian access, and we have exempted all humanitarian imports from international organizations and donor countries from customs, taxes, and other duties, which are estimated at around $2.5 billion. The government has implemented more than 80,500 administrative and technical measures to facilitate humanitarian access at the federal and state levels. This includes issuing entry visas, customs and tax exemptions, and permits for the movement of trucks carrying humanitarian aid, and the renewal and facilitation of the work of humanitarian organizations and other such actions. Mr. President, Mr. Fletcher met with the President and of the Republic and all authorities, as well as the Prime Minister, Dr. Kamal Atayeb Idris, when he visited the country last year when he visited the United Nations here to attend the General Assembly open debate. And the Prime Minister confirmed that he will personally facilitate all of his work. And we regret to hear that there are some obstacles that continue to exist. But what is meant is the request by the World Food Programme Bureau Manager in Sudan and another official to leave Sudan, then we note that this order was issued after a close observation of some violations that affect the country and affect the reputation of the organization and its tasks as mandated. And after many notifications and warnings have been sent on these violations and transgressions with no response, the foreign minister discussed this matter 2 weeks ago with OCHA officials and with the deputy executive director of the World Food Programme. We affirm that the World Food Programme supports the Sudan and that the decision to evict some of those persons who work for the program is no reflection on our relationship with the program. We are determined to facilitate Mr. Fletcher's work in the Sudan. Mr. President, the government of Sudan reaffirms its unwavering commitment to international humanitarian law and the protection of civilians. We are working with the United Nations and its agencies and with the Secretary General's envoy Al-Amamra to facilitate the delivery of assistance to all those in need, including in conflict areas. There are no more civilians in the city of Al-Fasher. They have either been exterminated by rocket attacks and drones and chemical weapons used by the rebel militia recently, or killed trying to leave the city in search of safe harbor. The government is also committed to continuing its efforts to achieve a comprehensive and sustainable peace based on a purely Sudanese national solution that rejects tutelage and foreign interference, and adopts dialogue among the people of the country within the framework of respecting Sudan's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It is truly regrettable that the Rapid Support militias committed these atrocities while an official Sudanese delegation led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs was holding consultations in Washington, D.C. with the U.S. administration on ways to end the war and achieve peace. The government of Sudan has cooperated with the Secretary General in all resolutions and in all truces, and the Rapid Support Forces were the ones who perpetrated these violations. This tragic paradox reveals the nature of this group and its supporters, which do not believe in peace, nor in the political process, nor in the Secretary General's appeals. Rather, it feeds on war, chaos, and terrorism. Accordingly, the government of Sudan advised the Distinguished Council to take the following actions: condemn clearly and unequivocally the massacres committed by the Rapid Support militia, its foreign mercenaries, and regional supporters in Al-Fasher and throughout Sudan in clear and strong language, and to demand that the militia exit the city and respect Resolution 2736 issued by your esteemed Council. Designate the Rapid Support Militia as a terrorist organization in accordance with international counterterrorism standards, and criminalize anyone who deals with it or supplies it with weapons, mercenaries, or drones, or sponsorship, and permits and supplies, including radars and advanced weaponry, and permits such supplies to cross these borders. These weapons don't simply come out of the blue. Impose targeted sanctions on anyone who finances arms or provides safe haven to this militia, be they states or individuals, and they are known to you. We call on the Council to launch an investigation into the genocide of the inhabitants of Al-Fasher city to advance accountability. The militia issues daily threats of mass murder. The armed forces have found weapons from Western countries and advanced radars from Niyala, and these will be displayed at a press conference soon. Ensure the full implementation of Security Council Resolutions 2736 and 1591. Witnesses in Darfur have established that some neighboring states participated in the killing of citizens in support of the militia. Support the roadmap presented by the government of Sudan to the UN Secretary General and support its current transitional government, which is based on establishing a permanent cessation of hostilities and having the militia disarm and hand over its weapons, so that the Sudanese armed forces are unified under a single national command. This is an important element to curb the proliferation of weapons. Condemn the foreign aircraft that intervened throughout the past week in support of the militia's operations and targeted the positions of the 6th Infantry Division. Internationally banned nerve gas is also being used in and around the city of Al-Fasher, which has obliged the 6th Infantry Division to withdraw in order to protect the lives of its troops. I would like to be clear. There will be no negotiations with this terrorist militia unless it lays down its arms and stops its aggression against the Sudanese people. And this must also include the sponsor state that sponsors these militias. There can be no talk of peace while genocide and mass killing continue. The Sudanese people will not accept dialogue with those who committed the most heinous war crimes and crimes against humanity and genocide against them. The Sudanese people will not agree to include this militia in their governance as some Western countries want. Sudan will resist the international scheme to divide it. It will resist the regional and international parties who sponsor such a scheme. Sudan will rely on the glory of the gun and push them back in exercise of self-defense, as the Mahdi movement did in the past century to defeat colonialism. What is happening now is a neo-colonialism that is being perpetrated through the militia. And this continued silence of the international community in the face of the crimes will not be interpreted as neutrality, but it is a shameful collusion through silence and incitement by inaction. The Sudanese people will not forget who caused those calamities and who ignored their suffering and disposition. Sudan is not asking for mercy because God is the only merciful one. Sudan demands the restoration of the moral standards in which this international organization was founded, so that this council might take a courageous stand that is in line with the principles of the Charter of the United Nations, which prohibit external aggression and protect peoples from genocide. I thank you.